Alright, hello everybody. It is NTC back for another episode of Overwatch Weekly. Quite a few things to talk about, but a lot of it is based around the PTR patch notes and the dev update that went live on Friday. So, let's start with the patch notes first on the PTR, because they're the biggest thing. I've made an entire video already on all the hero changes. I showed off Torbjorn and Farah. So that'll be linked in the description, but I'll mention everything again. But let's talk about the main things that were added. So the biggest thing besides the hero updates are updates to colorblind options. Now, I'm not personally colorblind. I don't see color in an affected way or an impacted way, but I know there's a lot of people that are. There's posts that I see all the time prior to this happening that they were, complaining that there wasn't enough in the colorblind option, and now they've changed it. You can change the colors of stuff, and it's worked pretty well from what I've seen. I've seen some people, who played, and they're like, the game's like night and day. It's actually like playable now. Like, I actually don't have to worry about not being able to play. So I thought that was really, really good. If you go to options, video, colorblind options, that's where you can check out all of the colorblind things if you don't already know about them. That's where they are if you need to do it. You can also just change the colors if you wanted to. If you don't like the colors that there are, you wanted to change them, you can do that. So check it out. But let's go to the hero updates. I'm not going to spend too much time on them because like I said, I already made a video on them. But first one is that it's just a general update. They updated the visuals for all shields and barriers to increase readability, so now they just look better. For Brigitte, her shield health is reduced from 600 to 500. McCree's combat roll had its cooldown reduced from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. Farah, who has quite a few changes that I showcased in the video. Her concussive blast had its cooldown reduced from 12 to 9 seconds. And then for her rocket launcher, the attack speed is increased. The recovery between shots was lowered from 0.9 to 0.75. The damage was redistributed between the explosion and the impact. Specifically, that the explosion damage was reduced from 80 to 65, and the impact damage increased from 40 to 55. The explosion knockback was reduced by 20%, and the self-knockback range increased by 25%. Like I said, I showcased all of this in another video, and I talked a little bit more in depth about it, so if you want to check that out, link in the description. For May, there was a general update on all of her visuals. They were updated. Her ultimate got a really big one. It's got like a sphere now. So if it's thrown on like a high platform, it'll be a sphere, but if it's on the ground, it'll be like a dome. So that's nice. It makes it easier to see what's going on with May. So that was a good change. For Orisa, her fusion driver had its maximum spread reduced from 1.5 to 1.2, which is nice. For Soldier 76, his heavy pulse rifle had its number of shots until max spread increased from 6 to 9. I didn't even know that Soldier 76's gun worked like that. I'm not even going to lie to you. I don't play enough Soldier 76 to know that, but now it's improved. And then we get to Torbjorn. Obviously, he had a rework, so he's got quite a few changes. There's also in the description, there's an in-depth look at the Torbjorn rework if you don't want to watch the video. But it only focuses on the Torbjorn rework. So let's go through the Torbjorn changes. A general change is that the size of his head volume was reduced by 10%. So a little bit harder to hit. His rivet gun had some changes to both its primary and alternate fire. For the primary fire, the projectile speed was increased from 60 to 70 per second. The reload time was reduced from 2.2 to 2 seconds. And the turret also targets enemies that are hit by primary fire. So you can change the focus of the turret. For His alternate fire, the recovery, was lowered from 0.8 to 0.6 seconds. The damage per shot was lowered from 150 to 125. The reload time was reduced from 2.2 to 2 seconds, and the spread randomization was readjusted. For the Forge Hammer, the radius increased to align with quick melee. For a deployed turret, it is now a thrown projectile. It automatically builds over 3 seconds and no longer has different levels. It only has level 2 and has the same damage output as the previous level 2 turret. The maximum health was reduced from 300 to 250. It now incurs a 5-second cooldown when deployed and a 10-second cooldown when destroyed in combat. You can no longer deploy a new turret if it's in combat or while it's firing. If the turret has taken damage within 3 seconds, you also can no longer deploy a new one. You're able to destroy turret using the interactive input the same way that Symmetra would destroy, or Sombra destroys her translocator. And it'll also complete self-building once deployed, even if Torbjorn has been eliminated. And then he gets a new ability, Overload. It replaces Armor Pack and the scrap system. It lasts for 5 seconds with a 12-second cooldown. It temporarily grants 150 armor, and it increases attack, movement, and reload speed by 30%. Essentially, it's his old Molten Core ultimate without the turret boost. That's all it is. And he's the new ultimate, which is still called Molten Core, but it's very different. It switches weapon from his rivet gun to his claw arm. It lasts 6 seconds. So what he does is he fires these like lava like globs onto the floor, up to 10 of them, and it creates damage pools that last for 10 seconds. They bounce off walls and ceilings. They will always be on the ground. The base damage for them is 130, but the damage that it does is increased to 190 against enemies who have armor. So that would be Bastion, Brigitte, Diva, Arisa, Reinhardt, Torbjorn, Winston, and Wrecking Ball, and anybody that has been given armor from Rally. And finally, the last update I'm going to talk about here in the PTR is that they reduced the setup timer for Assault, Escort, and Hybrid maps from 1 minute to 45 seconds. So those are the PTR changes. Pretty extensive. A lot of things changed. If you want more in depth about the hero changes, link in the description. There's also, like I mentioned, a dev update. Most of what he talked about was just all that stuff. The hero balance changes, the colorblind options. But there's some other things that he mentioned that I wanted to specify on. He mentioned that the Halloween Terror event coming up is going to have new skins. I think we all knew that. He specifically mentioned that one of them will be Junkenstein's Monster's Bride. There was kind of a leak of an achievement that showed a bunch of different skins, but it was only like the outlines of skins. You can't really tell who some of them are, but it looks to me like Sombra is going to be the bride, but I don't know. So that was something he mentioned. But then he was talking about events, because obviously Summer Games didn't go very well, and we haven't had a dev update since Wrecking Ball. So he was talking about all of that, and he was mentioning that the developers currently are prioritizing working on quality of life changes over new event game modes, right? So they're focusing on doing stuff like endorsements and looking for group and these colorblind options instead of a new sport for Summer Games. Now, I wish they were more transparent about this prior to Summer Games coming out, instead of just dropping the Summer Games event with no dev update or anything and just saying, here's Summer Games. That's my problem with it, is that they didn't really say anything about the event when it came out. So I'm fine with it now, like in like retrospect, like okay, yeah, that makes sense, and I'm glad that you're focusing on quality of life changes, because there's a lot that I think you need to make and that I think you should make, but I don't know why they waited this long to tell us that. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Maybe you disagree, but that's where I stand on it. The final thing that Jeff mentioned is that he talked about when they added endorsements and looking for groups. There's going to be a third social feature that came out around this time. He said they're going to have to delay that because it's taken longer than they expected and doesn't want to give us a new date because he already told us one and didn't hit that date, so he doesn't want to give us another one and then not hit it. So we just have to wait for it. Didn't give any clue what it is, but it's on the way, whatever it is. That's just like a TLDR of the dev update. Watch the whole thing if you want, more information, better ideas of what is actually going on, but that is all in the description down below. Next, let's talk about the Overwatch World Cup, because this past weekend was the final group stage where the final 2 teams of the Overwatch World Cup were decided. Obviously, last week I talked about the 6 teams that were in. I'll see if I can remember all 6 of them. You had France, the UK, Germany, Poland. Who else was there? Let's pull it up. The Netherlands was there. There's one more team. Who is it, bud? You know who it is. You know who it is. Let's see if I can actually get this page to load. We're just not gonna even go that way because it's not gonna load. Oh, that'll do it. All right. I want to say it was. No, I'm actually losing internet, so that's awkward. Anyway, forgetting about all that happening, the 2 teams that advanced were France as the number 1 and the UK as number 2. The only loss that the UK had was to France. France did not lose at all, so that was your winners from there. But the real, I would say, the real story of the weekend came from the matchups being set for BlizzCon. So at BlizzCon, you'll have a number 1 seed playing against number 2 seed in the first round for every first round match, and then it moves on to whoever wins that plays the other team that moved on their side, and then so on and so forth. So the matchups officially that we'll be seeing at BlizzCon on Friday, November 2nd. We have France versus Canada, the number 1 from the Paris stage against the number 2 from the Los Angeles stage. China versus Finland, the number 1 from the Bangkok stage against the number 2 from the Incheon stage. USA versus the United Kingdom, which would be the number 1 from the LA stage versus the number 2 from the Paris stage. And South Korea versus Australia, number 1 from Incheon against number 2 from Bangkok. So those are your matchups. France, Canada, China, Finland, that's one side, and then USA, UK, South Korea, Australia is the other side. So no US South Korea finals matchup, or France China, or Canada Finland, or France Finland. No matchups like that. It'll be one of the 2 different sides meeting up in the finals. So I think it's going to be South Korea against Finland, maybe South Korea against Canada again, but I think it's going to be South Korea against Finland, personally. But we'll see what happens. But that's everything for the week. This one was kind of long, and went a little bit longer than I thought it might, but there was a lot of stuff on the PTR, so I wanted to make sure I got everything settled and everything good. But that is everything. There were some changes to teams in the Overwatch League, so that is still linked in the description, and probably will be every week from here on out until who knows when. But if you want, information on where players are and trades or signings or whatever, all that is in the description. But that is where I'm going to end off. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing. Helps out a ton with the channel. And share it with your friends if you want. If they're like, yo, I love Overwatch, but it's so hard to follow the news cycle. I'm right here. I'm doing all the work for them, and they just gotta watch a 15-minute video. But yeah, I'm gonna end this off now. So I know I already said that, but thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye bye.